by office on the ballot. Okay, I'm going to turn the balance of the program over to Mike, and he's going to go ahead and take it for a while. There she is. And that's all right. This is Sally Marino, our district attorney. We love her dearly. We think she's doing an absolutely fantastic job. We're happy that she's in office. Sally, did you want to say a few words? You can have this.
The good news or the bad news, if you like me, it's good news. If you don't like me, it's bad news. I'm running unopposed. So if you don't like what I'm doing, you can make a run in another 4 years. The office has turned around in the last 3.5 years. We're doing great work. I guess what I really wanted to point out is that we're kind of facing stuff from Sacramento. It gets harder and harder to send people for the kinds of terms we'd like to, in terms of removing violent offenders from our community and keeping us safe. And we're just going to have to kind of sit tight and wait for the tide to turn on that until the law lets us do that. We're doing the best we can, but it's uphill. The laws keep changing and they keep paroling people who normally, in 5, 4, even 3 years ago wouldn't be paroled. So, for example, you probably all heard of the Chowchilla kidnapping. The last of those Chowchilla kidnappers is in the process of being paroled, and we're going to fight it. But assuming we win, he'll probably get another grant in another 18 months. So it just keeps coming at us. I did just want to let you know that the law enforcement community here in Madera is very, very tight. And I'll just tell you a story. I was at a Rotary meeting with a friend of mine, Dan Riley, whose hub I think is going to move in right over here, not too far. And on the way out, I was feeling a little down about what's going on in our state and trying to figure out how we're going to keep people safe. And I said to Dan, I said, where are we going to go, Dan? He said, what do you mean? He said, we're good. We're right here, good in Madera. We have good law enforcement leaders. We have a good DA. We're going to keep ourselves hunkered down and safe here until the tide turns. So yes, it's uphill, but we're going to just keep fighting. The people that you have running law enforcement here in Madera are hardworking, doing what they need to, looking out for public safety and working together to create a net here in Madera to do everything we can to keep ourselves safe. Anybody have any questions of me? Okay, if you do, I'm the only Sally at the DA's office. If you have a smartphone, you can say, Siri, call the Madera County District Attorney and just ask for me. You can leave me a message there, or they'll give you my email. You can send me an email. We are able to keep statistics all of a sudden for the first time in over a decade. If you're interested in how we're doing in terms of percentage of filings, percentage of convictions, any kind of particular stuff, it's kind of exciting that we can actually answer those questions. So feel free to ask. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to be here, and I look forward to hearing what the other candidates have to say.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, and here's Mike.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike, and I'll be somewhat of your MC. All our questions, so we took a whole evening for all our candidates right here. I just want to start off by introducing each candidate by what they're running for. Supervisor for District 1, Michelle Stevens. Can you raise your hand, please? Next is Andy Willer. And third is Jordan Wamhoff. Wamhoff, all right. I was worried about pronunciation. For sheriff, the current sheriff, Tyson Pogue. For sheriff running against him is Ruben Mendoza. Judge of the Superior Court, Office 1, Catherine Rigby. Next is Alana Ybarra. For assessor, we have Brent Frazier. And also for assessor, we have Jorge Torres. All right. For the candidates I have is the way we're going to run this is in the envelope, we have 2 questions. You all have the same questions. Ramona right here has 3 cards. You have 3 minutes to answer both questions. And when you're down to your last 20 seconds, she'll put up a yellow card saying 20 seconds and a red card. Try to be the best you can because we have people on Zoom watching. And so we want to be as professional as possible because I've watched a couple on TV and YouTube, and sometimes the candidate will run over. We're trying to limit our time to 2 hours. If we could get all we done, we could all have a great Sunday after that. So, yes. Oh. All right. Correction. It will be 3 minutes for each question. So you have 2 questions. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Then we'll start with the supervisors. Ready, Andy? Yes. You know what? I'll give you the mic.
Part of it, I know that I carry my voice and I don't know which one's going to be easier for Zoom because as they move the camera, they're also going to move the microphone. So I guess that's going to be a challenge as we go through it. So, well, thank you very much. First of all, my name is Andy Wheeler. I am running for supervisor in District 1. And since I'm getting it started off, we'll go sort of through where that district actually lays now because of the redistricting that took place this year. So essentially what you're looking at is the river to 145, 41 to 99, and it sort of scoops up on both sides of Madera with Parkwood and then Madera, part of Madera Acres on the other side of Madera. So it is definitely a change district look is what it is, but it's still been centralized here in this area with most of the population. So I've been a resident in District 1, specifically out in the Madera Ranchos area for the past 24 years. I moved out here when my kids were very young, had an opportunity to see them go through school. They had a chance to go start in Webster and graduate with the high school. In the last 6 years, I've been actually able to reapproach, now that they had started to graduate, reapproach and actually spend some time with the school board. So in the past 6 years, I've been on the school board. The past 2 years during COVID, I've been the president of the board. Now, it's partly important because of what's taken place in the last 2 years when we start to take a look at COVID. Despite the fact that we're really not, it's still going to be an ongoing conversation, it really was a matter of how we had to maneuver our way through a lot of the different rules and a lot of different things that were taking place, and not just the state, but in our community specifically, how it was dealing with our kids, how it was dealing with our families and the impacts that it took along with that. I'm proud to say that we managed to make it through. I know that there's still a lot of repair work that needs to be done because you can't take kids away from school for that long. But really and truly, when you look at the district overall, there is a changing environment that's taking place. Those that have lived out here for a number of years can't help but look around and notice that the landscape is changing. We've got new developments that are coming in, roads that are widening, new businesses, as you heard just a second ago from Sally, that are moving into the area. And this is going to be a little bit of a benefit, but it's also going to be a change. The biggest thing that we have to pay attention to in all aspects of it, whether it be public safety or public safety, roads, water, is how does this change actually going to impact us in the future? If these things aren't taken into consideration now, we're actually going to struggle as we go on down the roads. So we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are addressing those concerns now that they work together. So I'm getting a 20-second hook mark. Now, I just want to clarify real quick as we go through it. Real quick, did you want me to go into the other 2 questions now or pass the mic? Okay, all right. So I'm going to have to put the glasses on to reread the questions since they just here sort of popped up. So the first question for those who haven't seen them is, how have you prepared yourself to better qualify than your opponents to assume the responsibilities? By all means. Okay. Perfect. That's perfectly fine.
All right, well, I am Jordan Wamhoff, and I'm running for District 1 Supervisor. I am a husband, a father of 3 boys. They're in the back there along with my wife. But we we moved to Madera County 15 years ago. We chose to call this place home because we believe it's a quality place to raise a family. And as your supervisor, I intend to keep it that way. I am a police officer, and I am also a co-owner of a successful solar construction company. And I employ over a dozen people here in the Valley. What I would say, if I could use 2 words to describe my experience, it would be problem solver. I see some active officers, some retired officers in here as well. But responding to a 911 call, you will often go with limited information, not knowing very much about it, into a chaotic situation, and being able to solve those problems to bring peace to those. But and that takes some skill. But also owning a business, it's all about solving problems. If you don't effectively solve problems, your business fails. So, and if a business fails, it doesn't just affect my life and the life of my family. It affects my employees, their families, and the thousands of customers that I've served over the years. So, you know, solving problems is crucial. Being able to effectively solve problems is crucial. But I didn't get there by happenstance. I didn't get there by luck. It took a lot of hard work, and it took the ability to effectively solve problems and to be financially prudent. And those reasons are why I'm running to be supervisor. I think the key to being a great supervisor is listening. Really listening to the community and being a sounding board for that community. So it doesn't matter what problem comes up, but you can effectively listen to the community and come up with solutions. I think that's what makes a great supervisor. For those reasons, I've been endorsed by key community leaders, such as Assemblyman Jim Patterson and former Sheriff John Anderson. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Stevens, and I'm a wife, mom, and community volunteer who has built a successful business career as well. My husband of 27 years and I have also been blessed with 3 boys. One son is currently serving in the United States Navy. Another one's getting ready to graduate from Liberty. We've been out in the community for about 17 years, and we made the decision to move out here because it's such a great area to raise a family. And in the many, many years that I've lived out here, I've been involved with the successful growth of many youth activities, including fundraisers. That's pretty much where I devoted all of my time for the last 20 years of raising our kids. My business experience with county departments and extensive knowledge of our limited resources, such as water, roads, and prime agriculture, gives me a big advantage. In the past, I've had to understand and deal with the county general plan on many occasions. Of course, water is our main issue here, right? Whether you're a farmer or a resident, you need to have access to adequate water and clean water. Current water policies are forcing new practice on all of us. So we need to understand the parameters that we have to work within. I will share information as it comes down from the county and the state levels to you. Communication is key, and that's one of the things that I've heard as I've talked to so many residents out here. Safe neighborhoods are why we choose to live in Madera County versus Fresno. We have the best sheriff's deputies and firefighters in the Valley, and their compensation must be competitive. My loyalty is solely to Madera County. We cannot allow any other cities or counties to have a seat at the negotiating table when it comes to our safety. Our sheriffs and firefighters deserve loyalty from their elected officials, and you have my word that I will fight for them. They vow to protect us each day when they show up for work. I will show them the respect and honor they deserve. As we head into an uncertain economy, I'm prepared to work with all of the county departments to ensure that your tax monies are spent fiscally sound. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Tyson Pogue. I'm here to introduce myself and explain that I offer 3 things to you: commitment, experience, and results. I have matriculated my way through every single rank in the Madera Sheriff's Office. I'm committed to this community and the Sheriff's Office as a whole. I'm a member of the Rotary Club, the Lions Club. I'm the Community Action Partnership Chairman, as well as the California Peace Officer Association Region 5 Chairman. Experience-wise, I have been in command staff for 9 years, in supervision over 15 years, And of those, 6 years as the second in command and 2 years as your sheriff. The Madera Sheriff's Office is more than just general law enforcement. Unlike a normal police department, we are also the coroner. We run the civil division, Office of Emergency Services, the boating unit, search and rescue, court security. It's a very complex and very difficult position. I am a doer. I am here to get the job done. On the results side, 3 of our biggest accomplishments over the last couple of years. After 44 years, we reunited with the Madera County Department of Corrections. So the Madera County Department of Corrections was a separate department for more than 44 years. We established a Rancho substation just about a year and a half ago. And we added 23 new positions to the sheriff's office, 23 new sworn positions. We have more sheriff's deputies working right now than at any point in Madera County Sheriff's Office history. And it's for these reasons I'm pretty widely endorsed, widely supported. I have 42 of California's current sheriffs, every living Madera County sheriff, 7 police chiefs, including Fresno, Madera, Chowchilla, their seconds in command, the district attorney, the Police Officers Association for Chowchilla and Madera, PORAC, the Deputy Sheriff Association, the Correctional Officers Association, the Madera Peace Officer Management Unit, all 5 Board of Supervisors, CAL FIRE Local 2881, Fire Chief Matt Watson, the Madera Mayor Santos Garcia, many council members, and many law enforcement leaders. I appreciate your vote on June 7th.
Thank you, Tyson. Good afternoon. My name is Ruben Mendoza, and I'm running for Madera County Sheriff. I want to thank the board for the invitation. First of all, I want to introduce my wife, Lynette Mendoza. She is a retired fire captain with the California Department of Corrections. My oldest daughter, she's a recent high school graduate, Cameron, and then my younger daughter, Karina, she's graduating next year, 2023, which looking forward to it. Last night was her prom. It was an exciting moment. Anyway, I just want to, speak about my work experience. I graduated from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, worked for Glendora Police Department, California Department of Corrections, Chowchilla Police Department for 20 years to the day. I am currently work for Merced County Public Defender's Office as a legal assistant, training and supervising investigative assistants, and work with all the attorneys. Basically, I worked my way from patrol officer, patrol sergeant, detective sergeant to command staff, and done much of everything in between as a leader, a manager, and a supervisor. My education, I have 3 college degrees, I have an Associate of Science, a Bachelor of Arts, and a Master in Science. I am currently the board trustee for Madera Unified, and I'm in my 2nd term. I also serve as president for Madera County School Board Association. My mission statement for the Madera County Sheriff's Department is to improve services, response times, public safety, conduct follow-up investigations, and that the community have a voice in the Sheriff's Department. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Catherine Rigby, and I am happy to be running to be your next Madera County Superior Court Judge. I also want to thank the board for the invitation, and I want to thank you all for coming out and getting to know us and educating yourselves on the issues. So first, I want to tell you a little bit about my endorsements. I'm very proud and thankful to be endorsed by 8 Madera County Superior Court judges, 2 retired Madera County Superior Court judges, several Fresno judges, as well as Madera District Attorney Sally Moreno, Fresno District Attorney Lisa Smitkamp, the entire Madera County Board of Supervisors, the Madera Police Chief and Police Officers Association, Chowchilla's Police Chief and Police Officers Association, retired Sheriff Varney, retired Under Sheriff Hickman, and the Madera Deputy Sheriff's Association. But a little bit about me. I'm actually born and raised in Madera, California. I'm actually a 4th generation Maderan. And I grew up in and around Madera, being involved in the community. I followed my dad around when he was doing things with Madera Sunrise Rotary. My brother and I were very involved in the community through Howard 4-H. So if you had kids in 4-H or FFA, I might have shown with them at a fair. In high school, we were very involved with the Madera Interact Club, doing both local and international service projects. And then I went on to Fresno State, where I got my degree in business administration. After that, I went to law school up in Sacramento at McGeorge School of Law, where I received my law degree, as well as my master's of business administration. While I was up there, I had the unique opportunity to work under Governor Schwarzenegger in the Governor's Office of Legal Affairs, and then later at the California Department of Food and Agriculture. Those were really unique experiences that served me well when I came back to the Valley. But I was in fact excited to come back. I did juvenile law. Then I went into civil litigation representing business and agricultural individuals. And now for the past several years, I've been a prosecutor. We aim to ensure public safety and to apply the facts to the law and seek justice. As a judge, I hope to do the exact same, to uphold and defend the Constitution. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. I am Elena Ibarra. Thank you. I would also like to extend my gratitude for inviting me here to beautiful Rolling Hills. I am a mother, a U.S. military veteran, a small business owner, and an attorney practicing in Madera County for over 10 years. I'm also a native Maderan. I grew up in Madera, attended Madera schools. Actually, my friend was just reminding me that we took our prom pictures out here in Rolling Hills in its backyard. I graduated from Madera High in 1997. At the time when I was a young child, we had been the victims of several crimes in our own home, which led me to dedicate my life to improving the community and the safety of Madera. After high school, I really wanted to go on to college. However, my family didn't have much money. So I followed in the footsteps of my grandparents. My grandfather was in the Korean War in the Army, and I had uncles that served in Vietnam in the Marines. My brother is also a lifelong Marine, and I decided to serve our country, and I went to the United States Air Force. I served in the Air Force for almost about 6 years. During the day, I was immediately placed overseas. I served overseas during 9/11, which happened just after I overseas, and Afghanistan Iraqi conflict. And I bring that up because the life experience that I gained from serving our country during conflict certainly gave me a perspective on life that you otherwise. Being in the military, I during the day and school at night, and I AA and I earned my bachelor's degree. And I'll tell you more when I answer my first question. But thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Jorge Torres. I'm currently running for Assessor of Madera County. My background is I graduated, worked my way through Fresno State. From Fresno State, 2 years as a financial planner with New York Life. After that, 2 years with the IRS. After that, a finance manager with a nonprofit company for at-risk youth. I did payroll, accounts payable, financial statements. After that, I got my real estate license in 2003, my broker's license in 2005. After 10 years in the real estate field, me and my wife got married. I decided that we needed stability. I got a job at the State Board of Equalization. They do a number of things. One is that they go out and they audit assessors' offices in 58 counties up and down the state. I was part of the team that we would go enter into these offices, look at what's right, look at what's wrong, talk with all the assessors. And I did that for about 4 years. Being on the road was very difficult for my wife. My child at the time, I was missing a lot. I finally got a job here. I'm here at the Madera County as Assessor's Office. In August 1st, it'll be 5 years already here. So what I want to do is basically bring awareness of the new propositions, help public do things like this where you guys can have questions and I can answer them directly. Also, is our office. We are lacking a little bit, and we also need staff. We've been cut and retirements and things. I need some staff, as well as I just want to help improve our office, improve the county, and my education background. I think it'll serve the county well. I humbly ask for your vote.
After. Thank you all. I think I got it now. Can be- is it- if it doesn't cut out, I'll just start talking really loud. Anyway, my name is Brett Frazier. I was born and raised in Madera. I was a part-time Rolling Hills resident for about 4 years during high school at Art Hughes's house with his son. So I was born and raised here. I've served on the city council in Madera for 4 years. Served as the mayor in 2012. I've then now been your Board of Supervisors representative for District 1 for the last 8 years. I'll tell you, coming to these things sometimes are nerve-wracking, but I've been in this room when it's been a lot more nerve-wracking when we're trying to figure out how to get the water situation fixed. And I think through that, that's what I've always brought to the table is working with the community, figuring out what it is that you want and how do I serve through what you're asking for. And that's what we did with our system here, is to take in your input and then get it out to privatization. Those are things that I'm proud of. In a great way is continually being in the community, working with the community, and making sure that your voice is heard and that information back is important. I also run a business for the last 16 years. I own a shop. I like to, fix. There's a way, but I'm keep care of the community. View. Right. And still. A mic. It's the mic is well out. With that, humbly on. Thank you.
Check. Check, check, check. I think it's probably the fan. Says part. All right. There is water for everybody here in the white and the blue. Stay hydrated. Can I offer anybody water up here? All right. Start. Ooh. All right, so if you want, stand up. So I know try to get a little air because I can see on a lot of people's faces that so it's a little warm in here. Well, we'll try to do the best we can. All right. All right. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try to talk loud at the same time, just in case the microphone steps out. So first of all, first question is, how have you prepared yourself to be better qualified than your opponent to assume the responsibilities of Madera County District 1 Supervisor? Please include how many board meetings you have attended in the last year. So I started earlier by telling you that I have spent the last 6 years on a school board. And so one of the things is it's giving you an opportunity to one, understand how budgets work, how you have to interact with other individuals. But one of the things in the last several years that's actually taken place, both through the changes in the area as well as through COVID, is it's given me the opportunity to directly interact with a lot of the county board positions as well as some of the different departments. And part of that reason is between the growth of the schools and between just the difference in the rules changes that we've seen through the COVID pandemic in the last several years. There's been meetings that have had all along. Failed to mention it earlier, but this is as good a time as any. That is part of the reason why I've been able to receive the endorsement from all 5 sitting supervisors. But this is also extended well into other departments. I've had conversations over the years with the Sheriff's Department in trying to obtain a deputy on campus. And these are just some of the preparations just to take a look at our community in whole. It's a starting place to where we are. The schools are the largest single employer right here in our district at this point in time. With the exception of agriculture, it is the single largest area that we are starting to do. And it's also very, very involved in a lot of the growth that is taking place. As far as number of board meetings, the one thing that COVID has done that's made it very, very interesting is it's made it much easier to attend some of the board meetings. I will probably say 2 to 3 of the meetings a month for the last 4 months I've been on, either through the remote types of remote versions or viewing the recordings. But I have been watching the agendas now for about the last 6 months, going through the agendas and having conversations with different people. It's led into a lot of different talks when I've met with the Sheriff's Office, with Madera PD, because part of the area does actually is serviced by Madera PD, and with CAL FIRE. And that's part of the reason also I've got the endorsements from Madera Police Officers Association and CAL FIRE. There's a lot more preparation, but a lot of it starts with relationships, but it's not just at the county level. It has to start in the community. You talk only on one side if you spend most of your time just listening to the politics sides of it. You've got to be out in the community. You've got to have those conversations. You've got to understand the challenges that are taking place. And that's exactly what it's led me to do in the last several years. It's been an active effort to work with families. It's been an active effort to work with the community to ensure that the growth and everything else is taking place. This is a subject, or this is a thought that is going to continue as we go forward. Conversation has to happen. Otherwise, you only get a view from one side. You can sit in a boardroom and you can take a look at an agenda and you can make rulings on what people tell you. But until you approach the community and you have those conversations, you only see it from your point of view. It's not fair to do that. You have to look at the community at the same point in time. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I'll let you go ahead.
So what have I done that prepares myself and to be better qualified than the other candidates? I feel like my experience has outlined a lot of that. When out talking with members of the community, the top 2 things I would say that are brought up are public safety, making sure that we're safe, and making sure that the business of the county is run properly. So public safety, I truly know. I've been in those cars, responding to those 911 calls. I've stopped the parolees at night with guns in the car. I know what it's like to keep a community safe. And, when the sheriff and I talked not that long ago, I think a lot of people would be shocked to learn things like minimum staffing for any given shift of Madera County deputy is 3 on the valley floor. Now we have a few more than that are actually working, but that's minimum staffing. And a lot of people don't realize that in a rural area, it could take a long time for a deputy to come if they're on the other side of the valley floor. So I understand these issues intimately because I've been there. When an emergency happens, seconds matter, not just minutes. Seconds matter. So I understand it from that perspective. But also owning a long-time successful company is a great experience as well. Some experience that my other opponents may not necessarily have. Having employees and being able to operate within a budget, being fiscally prudent, fiscally responsible, so you can not just feed yourself, but feed your employees, feed the business. And in a business, if you're not growing, you're dying. So you have to constantly be solving problems. And you don't have to know the answer to every problem, but you have to have a set of guiding principles in which you can see problems. So as problems come up, you don't need to know the answer. But if your principles are there, you should be able to arrive at the right solution. And for me, keeping this place family friendly, so every decision that you make does that decision benefit families in this area? And that's really what it comes down to. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
through the whole cycle and then come back again. Okay.
Yeah, we'll,
All right.
so it's a total of 3 minutes for questions, so it's a total of 6.
All right, so second question, I wasn't sure how we were gonna, whether it was gonna roll through or not. So second question, Rolling Hills residents pay an estimated 1 million a year in property taxes. Can you give us a breakdown of where this money goes and what changes you propose making to direct additional funds to our community roads? Okay, so a couple things come into this is community roads obviously is noted inside of there, so it is obviously a concern. But property taxes do go for a lot of different avenues. You see property taxes get used for both through the general fund, which it does include some of the roads portions of it, but it also goes to schools. It goes to social services as well as other programs that the county is ultimately responsible for. It is one of the 2 major driving factors of what we face on funding coming into the county. The other one is obviously sales tax. Portions of it is shared, but I do know that you do have a specific fund that was set aside that you've been adding into that has allowed you to have additional road projects out here, and that needs to continue. The nice part with those additional funds that you agreed to out here is it allows you to take that along with matching funds to create somewhat of the projects. A lot of programs that we have coming from the state, and as we even see from the federal government, is actually starting to bring in money for infrastructure increases. And that's a piece that we need to make sure that as a county, we get our fair share of, and probably actually more than our fair share of it. When you take a look at the allotment of what comes back to our geographic area, we are about the same size. Actually, I think we're smaller than San Diego County, but we receive a fraction of what it is. And that's oftentimes has to do with the number of populace. So we pay in, we have as many roads, if not more roads in some of these counties, but we receive a whole lot less back. And so part of the avenue has to be that fight to try to draw more and more of those funds back, not just looking at the idea of the number of people. And as it grows, it's going to help, but also at the same point in time that we have to ensure that we are grabbing what we can, bringing in those grant funds, bringing in the funds that come from the federal government and applying them right here in our neighborhoods, because it has to do. Now, there's one more piece that comes along with this. And as you see these growth and these developments, those roads have to be taken a look at as those developments come in. We bring in a number of extra people. We have to make sure that those are also growing that along with it. And that is on the backs of some of the developers and some of the businesses that takes place. We need to widen 12, obviously. We need to widen 41 a little bit further down as we go through this. And we need to change it to the place that we can actually create a safety areas that comes along with it. But with the property taxes, we need to take control of what we can. We need to make sure that within the general budget, we're making sure that we're doing everything effectively. And if it's not, and granted, government's not always known to be the most effective and efficient fashion to do. So we have ways to trim and then apply it back to where it's important. And it really and truly roads fits into public safety. It is one of the biggest components that is out there, not only with the law enforcement and the police, law enforcement and the fire department, but also at the same time as roads from public safety's perspective. So thank you very much.
Okay, so Rolling Hills pay an estimated $1 million a year in property taxes. Where the money go? Where does the money go, and what changes propose making? So obviously, how the money gets diverted goes to a lot of different areas. Funds the sheriff's office, funds roads, funds Department of Public Health, prosecutor's office. Every aspect of essentially government is where that goes. But for me, it's more about priority. What are their priorities? A lot of times governments they'll have an established budget, and then they'll tinker around here and tinker around there around the priorities. If the priorities are public safety, having safe roads and water, what we should do is throw out the budget, fund those core services to what we believe they need to be, and then work the rest of the budget around that. So when we're talking about the dollar amounts that we pay as residents and property taxes, it really comes down to accountability and transparency, because you guys want to make sure that your dollars are being spent wisely and that you know where it's going. And that's why I'm running for supervisor. I want to be in the community. I want to be a sounding board and be your voice in this community and have frequent meetings with you, so you guys feel like you have a vested interest in what's going on with those dollars. Thank you.
what qualifies me over my opponents? I'll tell you, I think the thing that sets me a head and shoulders above the rest is that politics is not my game. I am running because I'm a mom. I've just been in the community. I've been very active in a lot of things. And I feel like we're in a position to where if normal citizens like me don't start to get involved, we're going to go in a direction we don't like. There's a lot of things going on in our community right now, a lot of growth, a lot of development, a lot of different things. And as a business owner, I do understand the impact all of these things have on us. We all have our areas that we love, yet we are all one community. And I understand that. I work together to, I've worked with different organizations and helped to grow our community. I've worked in a lot of different areas when we've had contentious issues. I have been one of the people standing up front saying, hey, this isn't right. We have to get behind this. And as your supervisor, I feel that is my duty. We have a lot of concerns. All of the different areas each have their own unique concerns. And you need somebody that has been in the community, that knows the community, and that is willing to stand up for you. We may not win every battle, but I'm not afraid to get in the ring and say, hey, we have to stand up for our people. We all pay money. We all want the same services. We expect our communities to be safe and to be somewhere that we're continually proud to live in. This is Madera County. We have to stick together and work hard to represent our area. We're the gem of the area, so we need to work together. As far as funding goes for Rolling Hills, and this community was set up with a different type of district for funding roads. It's an issue. It's become an issue now as you can look out and see what's going on. I know that there's been some partnerships with the county and there's been some progress that's been made, but we have a lot more progress to make. So I think we have to sit down, look at some different options and see how we can do a better job of getting your roads fixed. Whether it be, I know there's sound concerns, and Rolling Hills is just this wonderful area that is getting swallowed up by some other communities. So we have to work hard to make sure we take care of you guys as well. And as far as how many meetings, I have been attending meetings, some last year, but I've been to every meeting just about this year. So between 12 and 15 meetings. I do attend in person. I think the other thing that really sets me apart is that as your supervisor, this is what I'll be doing. I don't have to sell real estate. It's something I do because I enjoy it. Being your supervisor will be my job. You deserve someone who wants to commit to you full time. This is a big deal. We have a lot going on, and I feel that I am the right person to represent you and to give you my best, because that is what you expect and that is what you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. So what is the number one challenge to law enforcement in the county that we're going to address at the Madera County Sheriff's Office? The number one challenge facing law enforcement isn't just a county problem, it's a statewide problem. And I think it's the root of everything, of the bulk of the crimes that we see out here. It's the general decriminalization of crimes in the state of California. The most important, or probably the most impactful, is the decriminalization of drugs. In the past, if somebody got caught with a little bit of drugs, they would go in front of the judge. The judge would ask them, sir, do you want to go to prison or do you want to go to a treatment program? Of course, they're going to pick the treatment program. Now they go in front of the judge. Judge asks them, do you want to go to treatment program or pay a $100 fine? These poor people who are out there addicted to drugs, they no longer go to treatment programs. They pay their fine and they move on. And to support their habit, they're out there stealing your property. They're out there breaking into houses. They're wandering around the streets like zombies. They're sick and they're not out there getting any help. So the second part of the question is, what are we going to do to make it safer for our families? I'll tell you, I've spent almost 43 years in Madera County here, and I've spent 21 years at the Madera County Sheriff's Office. So I'm coming from my own personal experience. I've seen the changes and I've seen the impacts that these legislations have made upon our local communities. So first and foremost, we need to elect community leaders and elected officials who support our priorities. Not the priorities of Sacramento, not the priorities of San Francisco, but our priorities. We need to fight for Madera County. And that's why I offer Madera County. I have strong relationships out there with the other sheriffs. We have a strong voice in Sacramento. Quarterly, we meet, we discuss legislation, and we go out and we fight for the rights of our county. We don't just sit back and see what's coming from Sacramento. We shape that legislation. So it's with that I stress to you that this position, it's not just a job. I care about this community. I'm part of this community. It's a community in which I raised my family, and it's a community that I dearly love and I want to see successful. So I implore all of you, not just the sheriff's office position, but all of your elected positions, look into them, make sure that their values and their priorities are the same as yours. And those are the ones we need to elect. And those in Sacramento who want to push down legislation that's not good for our local communities, yeah, we stand up here and we fight against that. You heard the district attorney talking earlier. That's the position we need to take. So with that, I'm here. I'm a doer. I will fight for you. I'm tough on crime, and I'm a transformational leader that Madera County needs. So please keep that in mind when you cast your ballot for the Madera County Sheriff Coroner.
Thank you, Tyson. There's only twice in my. Okay, good to go. It's only been twice in my career that I forgot my PIN, and this is one of them. First of all, the question is, what do I see as the #1 challenge to the enforcement of the laws in the county? Which would you address in your first year of the next term of office? Well, first of all, I mentioned earlier in my mission statement that it's response time and conduct follow-up investigations, and that the community have a voice in the sheriff's department. I want to refer to my vision statement. In part is to provide the update technology and equipment as it becomes available on the market, and to facilitate improved services to the public. I want to appoint applicants locally with equity and equality principles, promote qualified, experienced, educated personnel, and focus on retention. I want to provide training for all personnel for cross-training purposes, but particularly training to change correctional officer status to full deputy peace officer status and address staffing issues and shortages. Personally, I believe that the personnel is the greatest asset to any organization. The skill and the experience will make successes possible for any organization. The second question is, what steps would be in place to make Madera County safer for our families? Well, it would require some internal and external changes as well. Right now, currently, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the correctional officer and a deputy sheriff are of different sworn capacities. I would like to see if we could make the correctional officer full deputy through training. That would mobilize more deputies on the road, or if needed in the jails. It would be a budget issue. It'd be a staffing issue, but I think you can overcome it with the amount of training that could be provided, and as well as probably adding more manpower, speedier times for the sheriff's department to respond to calls of service. I was spoiled for the two agencies that I work with. Our response time was like less than 3 minutes, so that was pretty quick. But as a long-term goals, I should also add that part of the I would also like to see, the thing is that we have a lot of people that work or have worked and done a lot of training and are now retired investigators. I would like to tap into that source there and bring them on as investigators as well. Therefore, they could help out and we can mobilize more people. As a long-term goal, I would like for Madera Sheriff's Department to eventually have its own training facility and have it open to other agencies like Chowchilla and Madera Police Departments, who could utilize the facilities in a partnership goal setting for the residents of the county. It would be a central training ground for weapons, practical training, and academics for all staff, sworn and non-sworn. I think by having those things in place, we could speed up the time. We could probably solve more crimes and prepare them for the district attorney to file criminal charges. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the first question, what have you done to prepare yourself for the position of Superior Court Judge? Be sure to include your education and job experience. Okay, so to prepare myself to be the next Madera County Superior Court judge, I'm going to jump into the education. I touched on that briefly. Like I said, I went to Fresno State. Then I went on and got my law degree and my master's of business administration. Some people may not know this, but as attorneys, we are required to do mandatory continuing legal education. And so while all attorneys have to do that to maintain their bar cards, I have really tried to focus my continued education on things like jury selection, evidentiary issues, and the new legislation that we see year after year with respect to, as Tyson and Sally mentioned, decriminalization and things of those natures, because those are very pertinent to what I do on an every single day basis as a prosecutor. With respect to job experience, I touched on this a little bit. As an intern, I worked at the Governor's Office of Legal Affairs. Then I was over at the Department of Food and Agriculture. Those were great experiences at the Governor's Office. I had the opportunity to draft parole memoranda for Governor Schwarzenegger so that he could make determinations as to whether or not to grant parole. At the Department of Food and Agriculture, I had the opportunity to work on a wide variety of issues, but one of the favorites that I worked on was the actual ag specialty license plates that you see running around that raise money for FFA scholarships. So if you have one of those, thank you very much. But I was very excited to come back to Madera because Madera is my hometown and I practice juvenile law. Juvenile law has two parts to it. There's dependency and delinquency. Dependency is the court where I represented literally hundreds of children who were abused and neglected and were under the guidance and jurisdiction of the child welfare system here in Madera County. On the juvenile delinquency side, I was tasked with actually representing children who were charged with crimes. So I was in a very unique position of, on one hand, representing kids who were victims, and on the other hand, representing kids who victimized others. It was a very unique experience. It was an eye-opening experience, and it was a labor of love, let me tell you, because these kids have gone through so much. But I had an opportunity during one of my internships to work at a law firm that included Michael Jerkovich, who at the time was an attorney. He's now a judge here in Madera County. He invited me to join the firm that is now called Gilmore Magnus Janice. That's when I went into civil litigation. And under civil litigation, I had the opportunity to work for, as I mentioned before, business and agricultural clients focused on business issues, agricultural issues, and even some water issues, which is very relevant to Madera County. We dealt with contracts, real property, and like I said, just before I got out of civil litigation, we even dealt with SGMA and the GSAs, if you can imagine that. But I was really called back to the criminal justice system, and I called Sally Moreno, who wasn't yet the elected DA of Madera at the time, but I called her and I asked her, what's it really like to be a prosecutor? And if anybody knows her, you know that she is very persuasive, because after we talked and after I gave it some consideration and prayer, gosh darn it if I didn't apply, and I've been a prosecutor for the past several years. As I mentioned before, I handle lots of cases. There's unfortunately hundreds of cases every week. But I've worked on misdemeanors, I've worked on juveniles, I've worked on felonies, including what we call, we used to call it our violent crimes unit. Those are cases that are serious and violent felonies, and those are predominantly the ones that I now take to trial as a member of our felony trial team. In fact, I'm starting tomorrow, I'll be back in jury selection for an armed robbery trial. So I have experience with a number of court trials, jury trials. In juvenile law, we call a trial and adjudication. I've lost count, but I'm somewhere in the area of 65 trials. Any given month, literally hundreds of hearings. And that's relevant for a couple of reasons. One, because I am very persistent and very hardworking. I will work until the job is done, but also because judges every single day have hundreds of cases on their docket. And it was not uncommon for me, in my experience, to be the majority of a judge's docket on any given day. So I understand very well high volume and the need to get these cases pushed through so we don't have a bottleneck, so we don't have people released on technicalities, because our goal is, again, public safety and to seek justice. But a little bit more than that, I was also the president of our Prosecutors Association. And through that, it was very eye-opening because we work on legislative issues, and we are very active and supportive of the California District Attorneys Association and their efforts with legislative issues that deal with the very laws that get passed that we see impacting our communities and our courts every single day. So we have taken a position to fight for public safety. But also something people may not know is that we have to oftentimes deal with HR issues. And guess what? So do judges sometimes. The presiding judge of the Madera County Superior Court, as well as the other courts, have to deal with those kinds of issues every day. So those are my education and my job experience. And then do you want me to jump into 2 or do you want me to hand off to Miss Elena? Okay, thank you very much.
Well, I'll reread the question. What have you done to prepare yourself for the position of Superior Court Judge? Be sure to include your education and job experience. Well, that's perfect because that's where I left off when I was talking to you before. After I decided to pursue law school, because I thought that would be a great avenue to continue in my efforts to help our community, I honorably discharged and I went to the University of San Diego School of Law, and I received my Juris Doctor in 2009, I believe it was. While I was in law school, again, I had to work. So I worked in the library and the admissions office, but I also took on an internship with the San Diego City's Attorney's Office in the Special Victims Unit and Domestic Violence. I worked there probably for about 6 months to a year. I then went on to the San Diego District Attorney's Office, and I interned with them in also the juvenile unit. I worked with prosecuting juveniles and rehabilitating them, because that's what the system is about in the juvenile court, is rehabilitating our minors so that they don't reoffend and they don't end up in prison. After that, I transitioned, was offered a job by the San Diego District Attorney's Office as an attorney, and I worked in the DA's office in the downtown branch, which only handles felonies. The city attorneys in downtown branch do the misdemeanors, and the DA's office does all the felonies. So I worked in the major narcotics unit in the beginning, which I loved. It was amazing, especially being so close to the border. You really feel like you're helping the community and putting a dent in the crime there. And we're talking about major narcotics and cartels. After that unit, I was transitioned into the Superior Court unit, which is general felonies. We did everything from the lowest felonies all the way up to murders. We didn't have a separate homicide unit. It was all together at that time. I got to work on probably every case you can think of, from armed robberies to evadings. Those were kind of my favorites too. Those are fun. And we did as much as we could to improve the community in that asset. I also trained with police officers out in the field. They sent us out on a lot of ride-alongs. We did narcotics undercover unit, vice, house sweeps, executed search warrants. I've gone out with the gang units and to execute search warrants and also to do the probation searches and that sort of thing. I did that as well in Fresno, which I'm getting to. Unfortunately, when I graduated from law school, I graduated into our recession in 2008 and 2009. And as much as I love San Diego, beautiful place, they just didn't have a spot for me. So I ended up coming home, which was a blessing. I love Madera, and I'm glad to be home. And I started working at the Fresno District Attorney's Office. I also worked in the felony unit there, doing hundreds of prelims a day. I also did that in San Diego. We did up to probably 5 preliminary hearings a day, different types of felonies. And I worked in that unit for a while, and then I went to the misdemeanor trial unit so we can get some trial experience. They do that a lot to young deputies. I had the biggest caseload when I worked in the misdemeanor unit. I had the largest letter box. All my other friends had court partners, and I was the only one that had my own courtroom. And they would ask about that, and they'd say, well, because Elena can do it. She's capable. So, and I worked there for a while. Now, for the last 10 years, I have been working as a private attorney. I worked actually in a civil engineering firm as in-house counsel. I did that for a little while, but I'm a trial attorney. I love being in the courtroom. I love studying evidence. I love these new cases that come before me. So I ended up leaving that job, and I to go work in a civil law firm with an attorney who had been practicing for over 40 years. He taught me civil litigation. He taught me bankruptcy, everything from contracts. I mean, basically, when you're a sole practitioner, you take kind of what walks in the door, right, to feed your family. So I've probably seen it all. And I went on my own. I have my own law firm now, which I run. And I do still civil litigation, which is a vast area of law, very nuanced, probably the hardest area of law. A lot of contracts, you know, I write contracts, I enforce contracts, I undo contracts. I put together partnership dissolutions, I put together partnerships, corporations. I understand the bankruptcy laws and how they affect our businesses and individuals, and divorces. I do family law. So I do divorces and child custody cases. And I do a little bit of criminal now on the other side of it. So what I've done to prepare myself is I've basically done everything under the sun that my law degree has allowed me to do. And I've practiced on both sides, both as the prosecutor and as someone doing defense, making sure that people's constitutional rights are taken into consideration. I believe that I would be an excellent choice for this job, both because of my background experience in life and also in my career. I'm also hardworking. I come from a very hardworking family who taught me to love this country and never take from the system and work for everything that you have. And that is why when I didn't have money to go to college, I went to the military. And I will continue to work hard. And I've practiced in this county for over 10 years. I understand the court process and I understand how things work. And no matter what courtroom they put me in, whether it be civil, juvenile, criminal, or family, I will have a strong foundation and I will know what I'm doing. Thank you.
Did you not want us to go to the second question? So I'm going to give you a real quick, if I explain, okay. So ladies and gentlemen, the second question says recent legislation has changed some felonies to misdemeanors and reduced jail and or prison time. Can you tell us how you view these guidelines when you would apply them in sentencing a convicted individual? So this is going to be a very lawyer type of response, and it's going to be unsatisfactory, unfortunately. But judges and judicial candidates, which is us, are not allowed, thanks to the government code as well as the judicial canon of ethics, pursuant to, I think it's like 2, 4, and 5 of those canons, to address any issues or cases or controversies that could be pending or impending before a court or could come before us should one of us become a judge. So unfortunately, because of those rules and because those would be things that we would directly be addressing in a courtroom on a daily basis, that's not something we can address. So I'm sorry for the unsatisfactory answer, but there you go. Ms. Ibarra, if there's anything you care to add.
I concur.
So thank you.
But for like one and two. All right, again, my name is Jorge Torres. The first question, tell us the specific duties of an assessor and what qualifies you to handle the responsibilities of the assessor. That's the first part of the question one. The role of the assessor is basically 4 parts, if you guys don't know. 1 is to identify property. 2 is determine if it's assessable or not. 3 is actually do the work, actually if it is going to be assessed. And 4 is to put it on the roll for property taxes. The assessor's role is different from the supervisor's different. This is a working role. We do not make policy decisions. We don't tell people what to do with their property taxes. We can't do that there. The part of it where it says what qualifies you to handle these responsibilities is I actually work in the assessor's office and I actually do all of these roles. The second part, I'm sorry, I'm not a politician. I'm going to talk frankly and talk swiftly here. Please include if you have any accounting or CPA experience. Working through Fresno State, I actually did my friends' W-2s. I did prepare taxes for them for a semester. After I graduated from Fresno State, I did work for the IRS for 2 years. 2008, the market had turned. I actually went back to school to do become a CPA, but I I dropped out of probably about 18 or 19 units of graduate, basically graduate accounting experience. I had to go back to work. That's the first part of question 1. Do we do question 2 now? Okay, question 2. Why are you running for the position of assessor versus what you are currently doing? Yes, okay, so why are you running? My position, again, it's unique because I'm the only one actually in the assessor's office who work for the state. The state guides and tells assessor's offices how to do our job. Now, I've been on the other side. I'm the only candidate and I'm the only person in that office who's worked on that side. I know, I also can see the questions coming before they ask it. And they also ask questions concerning what the assessor does, what the supervisor does, all the way down to the bottom of what the appraisers do. So I've been on that side. I'm also now, like I said, in the assessor's office. So I also see how we can answer it, how we can help Madera. So if, again, what you currently are doing, right now, we're turning the roll. This is our tax time. We have until June 22nd. So working full-time at this and working full-time in the assessor's office and being a husband and having a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, I'm physically and emotionally tired. But that's what if you ask me what am I doing right now, that's currently what I'm doing. I'm working at the assessor's office to turn this roll. We got a few days of this. We got a few days of this campaign. I'm pretty sure all of us are working hard for you. We're all working hard to campaign. But that is what we are doing now. All right, thank you.
Let's see if this works this time. I'm under here, no. So again, the questions tell us the specific duties of an assessor and what qualifies you to handle the responsibilities of assessor. And so the answer here was what the assessor's office does, not what the assessor does. And the part that's left off there is managing the office. This is largely an ministerial position as your county assessor. It's running the budget of the assessor's office. But the most important thing that was left off is engaging with you, the people, so you know and understand what your assessment is. Having the ability to, if you have an issue with your assessment, it's coming to your assessor and saying, I have an issue with my assessment. Why is it so high? Why is it? No one ever says, why is it so low? But if you did, what a good American, right? But why is it so high? And the assessor should be there to help you get through the process of, if it's a common sense solution and we can take care of it over the counter, your assessor should be able to do that. If it's a little bit more in depth, it's going through the assessment appeals process, which is a large part of what the county assessor does, is preparing and having everything ready for the assessment appeals board. These are things that I can do, that I have done for years. You've seen me out here in your community, talking with you, giving you the information, bringing the people that can give you the information so you get straight from the horse's mouth, so that we can keep your property tax assessment as low as it possibly can. It's governed by law. As a business owner, I know what that assessment does when it comes to my business, and how important it is to have that to be fair, equitable, and accurate, so that I can continue to run my business. And you want to have an assessor that you know those assessments that are coming in. That's one less thing you have to worry about when running your business, is that you have a fair, equitable, and accurate assessment. And that's what I will provide as your assessor. I have 16 years of running a business, hiring, unfortunately, sometimes firing employees, keeping to a budget. I've also ran the county's budget for the last 8 years and brought it in balanced every time, working with all the different departments and the relationships that I have with those departments, like planning, clerk recorder, admin, IT, all the things that make the assessor's office run are relationships that I have built in that can make that run as efficiently as possible. What does that mean to you? More fair, equitable, and accurate assessments on your property, business, and farm. So that's question one. So why are you running for a position of assessor versus what you are currently doing? Well, first, I'd like to just make a comment too that the assessor is a working position and the supervisor is not. I'll tell you, I've worked tirelessly, and these three over here are going to be in for a lot of work when they get into the supervisor role. Everything I've ever done, I've taken on head on, worked as hard as I possibly can for the people that I serve. And so I will continue to do that as your next assessor. When Gary Savanda, who is our previous assessor, came to me and said, Brett, I'm hanging it up, but we need somebody in there that understands what's going on in the county and how to properly run this office. Would you be interested in doing it? It was the first time I've ever gotten an endorsement by them coming to me and asking me to run for it. It was very humbling to have Gary Savanda's support and for him to ask me to do that. And I looked at the office and I looked at everything that's going on, the amount that we're overtaxed in California, with Sigma, what it's into the water on our farms, what that's going to do to their value. What happens if the housing market goes down or continues to go up? We need somebody with business experience that signed the front of a paycheck, someone with public service experience that's been out in the community to help guide through those different times. And that's why I said, absolutely, Gary, I need to be in there. And that's why I'll continue to do to make sure that you have the information that you need when you need it, to make sure that you pay as little tax as you possibly can. Now, I can't just take it down just so no one come up after and ask for it. But if it makes sense, we will get your property tax to where it's fair, equitable, and accurate. I humbly ask for your vote and your support, and I thank you so much for having me here today.
Now I'll turn it back over to Bar.
That pretty much does it, folks. We're going to go ahead and close the forum. I'd like to thank the 9 candidates that are here. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy Sunday and for being here in 92-degree temperatures. So thank you all. Let's have a round of hands. What we were hopefully are able to do is to post this event to the website. And the website, it's on the each quarter's newsletter at the bottom, but it's rollinghills.madera.org. rollinghills.madera.org. Okay. Now, it's not all over with because we have homework. The reason why we selected 2 questions was to try and move the process along. And it's been an hour and 18 minutes. Everybody's had a chance to get a good feel for who the candidates are and some of the salient points. Every question are questions that you have sent in. And the reason why we went into this type of process is I think it's more fair because this way we don't have candidates who pack the audience with people who are going to ask questions that are favorable to them. So these are answers that are good for us because of the questions. So here's the homework. It's in there. Okay, Now is the time, because it's all over with, now is the time where you get to meet and greet, ask the candidates one-on-one or as a group, your questions that we didn't ask today and things and points that are more important to you than what we've covered, okay? Everybody has something, so with that, I'll go ahead and release the candidates with the opportunity to be able to take off. And I know that one of the candidates' mother-in-law passed away this morning, and their dedication shows the fact to us, shows the fact that they're here. So if they need, this individual needs to take off, we do understand. Is that all right, Brett? Okay, the grandma. Anyway, folks, we hope you got something out of this. And like I said originally, when we opened, the reason why we're doing this is because you asked for it. Our board is responsive to your requests and needs. So if you have something, reach out to us and let us know. Thank you very much for being here today.